There we go.
For you guys, so please enjoy this footage of our Christmas decorations.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Oh, that's nice.
Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
That's incredible.
Yuletide carols being sung by choir.
My socks don't match my red. I should have worn my Gryffindor socks. What was I out? What was I thinking? I bet I could beat you at a game of darts. That's probably not true. You would beat me. That was a weird way to start a video. Straight up challenging you. I'm sorry.
Brittany is very competitive. She's very good at checkers. So checkers, according to game theory, is not a game. It's actually a calculation, and the reason is because there's no hidden information. So everything is available to see. Brittany has a very strong calculating mind. She's very good at chess. She's very good at checkers. Someone just texted me. We're gonna read it. We're gonna read it together. My mom says, "Did you get my Snapchat? I'm home now if you want to call me back." Okay. This is Brittany. Like I was saying, Brittany is very good at games with hidden information, logic and reasoning. But she also has a strong calculating mind. So the joke here was that, the joke with the darts. Let's go back. It's a joke because you would
beat me. That was a weird way to start a video. Straight up challenging you. I'm sorry. Hey guys.
She thinks that you could beat her at darts. So there's something in sports. Sorry, what I was going to say was, there was a Brittany. There's something in sports called sandbagging. It's where you pretend like you're terrible. So Brittany obviously is very good at darts. She has a dartboard in her house. I mean, fool me once, shame on one of the two of us. Fool me twice. And basically, you can only beat me at darts one time.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again."
And then I'm not gonna play you anymore. That's the best strategy. Anyway, that's the best strategy. Anyway, what I was gonna say was there's something called sandbagging. So I used to be not to brag about myself or anything, but I'm very good at bowling, and I have the world record for strikes in a minute. I have a perfect game in bowling. I have beaten down some semi-pros. Sometimes I play the pros when they come to town. They'd like to travel around, and then when they come to my house, I walk in and say, "This is my house," and then I usually lose, but that's okay. I don't look like an idiot while I'm playing it. Some people say, "Oh, he kind of fits in there." Anyways, I'm very good at bowling, and there's a lot of hustling in bowling, and basically, in order to get the other person to play you for money, you have to basically lose, or you basically want to undercut yourself. So you want to say, hey guys, you want to play for money for bowling, right? And then sometimes they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I'm not playing you for money. You're really, really good at bowling. I saw you have those world records. I saw you bragging. I saw you bowling a bunch of strikes." Well, that's not good if that's what my hustle is like. So what you want, this works better East Coast. You drive it to East Coast, and then you say, "Hey guys, I suck at bowling," and then they don't know who I am. It's East Coast, right? And everyone East Coast is really good at bowling because there's a lot of bad weather. And because of the bad weather, there's a lot of people who bowl. In California, where Brittany and I live, there's really nice weather. So why would anyone go bowling when you could skateboard and roller skate? So that's kind of the idea. East Coast, everyone thinks they're the best anyway. So it doesn't really even matter if they knew me; they'd bowl me for money. But like I was saying with the hustle, you want to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm terrible at darts," I'm sure you guys would destroy me, and then next thing you know, you're playing for money and you're losing to Brittany at darts. So just watch out, guys. So yeah, she's showing off her hustle here.
That's probably not true. You would beat me. That was a weird way to start a video.
Yeah.
Straight up challenging you. I'm sorry. Hey guys, it's Brittany. There's Frosty the Snowman. He's a When I was a small child, this Santa Claus right here, he used to dance. Where's the button? Can you...
Oh, that's one of my favorite words, button. Where's the button? It's very hard to say without saying it in an adorable, cute way. Where's the button? So in poker, there's something called the button. And so there's button and then there's button. And both ways that you say it is really cute, but like there's no way to mess up that word. So that's why it's like my second or third favorite word. I like quasi, pseudo, and button, and Francisco, of course.
Oh man, he's a...
Francisco's my favorite.
When I was a small child, this Santa Claus right here, he used to dance. Where's the button? Can you do what you...
He ran out of
before?
batteries.
Show them. See, he would sway his hips. I'm like...
I actually, and when it comes to Christmas in general and Santa Claus in general, so like it's kind of a tough spot because I figured out. So there's a Mark Twain quote. It says, "It's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled." Like after they've been fooled, you know. So, oh man, so it's true, you know. And when you look at someone like the flat earthers, you know, it's easy to fool someone into believing that the Earth is flat. Like, hey guys, the government has been lying to us, right? All the videos of the Earth is CGI. NASA has, you know, faked the moon landing, all this stuff, and then you try to really vaguely make a case for flat Earth in the Bible, and next thing you know, you got them hooked. And then when they find out, you know, a month later that there's lunar eclipses, and then the shadow on the moon is curved, there's a 0% chance that the Earth is flat at that point. But a lot of people, they don't like being convinced that they're fooled, so then they'll just go into the faking the lunar eclipses conspiracy, and then they'll just like keep going into that, and then they won't turn down from their position because they're so far invested. So yeah, basically, I was that kid with Santa Claus. I believed it up until I believed it for a very old age. Even when the parents were saying no, he's not true, I'm just like, yes, he is. You know, why would there be all of these songs about him? You know, and I don't know. I was just a believer in a while, for a while there. Especially since my parents like always tongue-in-cheek said that he was a literal thing, but really he's more of a well there was a Kris Kringle that was an actual person, but Santa Claus is kind of a more so a figurative construct of a society that endorses getting fat presents and a fat man who flies around, and I don't know. There's a Santa Claus rant, but I'm gonna have to talk to my future wife about this. But I am actually thinking about just telling my kids early on that mommy and daddy never lie to them. I want to tell them about drugs. I want to tell them where babies come from very early on, because like these are the things that I want. I'm gonna tell my second-born that my firstborn is better than him. That's what I've always wanted to be told as a kid. I was the firstborn, so like I always wanted to be told that I was loved more than the secondborn. But like my dad didn't start telling me that until I was like 20 years old, and at that point I didn't really care. So I'm gonna tell my firstborn. Oops. I'm gonna tell my firstborn that. That I love him more than the second kid, unless I somehow love the second kid more. But I'm going to try to be honest with them, you know. And then in the case that I love him the same, I'm just going to tell the firstborn I love him more. This is kind of just something that I've decided. And like the secondborn, no one likes to be told that they're loved the same, because that's just kind of lame. So yeah, and then when it comes to Santa Claus, like I don't want. The thing is, I'm going to tell them about Christianity very early as well. And when Santa Claus ends up being a fraud, a lying, or whatever, and society has lied to us. We've been fooled. The problem is when I tell my kid that Jesus is real and that Santa is real, and then later it's like, no, Santa, LOL, JK. You know, that might hurt someone's testimony in Christ, and that's just too risky for me. On the other hand, do I want my kids to ruin it for the other kids? Because my kids are the type of kids that will like go around and like tell the other kids that Santa's not real, and I don't know if I want that, but maybe not. I mean, maybe it's a good way to spread the truth. But it is kind of like a inside joke of society, and I see that angle too. I really do. Like the stork in England, that's where babies come from. They say, oh, it's a stork. There's this giant bird, and he flies in with carrying a baby, and then you can actually see storks flying around. And when you're a kid, your brain, I mean, a lot of kids are their brain's not really developed. They're a little bit naive, a little bit stupid. Lots of kids are kind of stupid. I mean, kids are smart compared to other kids, but like the adults in general are smarter than the kids. So you can really get one over on some of these kids, and you can say, "Hey, yeah, there's a stork that delivers the babies," and it makes sense because no one would ever expect that the genitalia that is obviously there to dispense urine is also somehow there to make babies. It just doesn't make any sense. So the stork thing actually does make more sense. You know, when you're ready for a baby, God sends a stork in to fly a baby down. You know, you could pray for a baby and then it goes. I mean, it's really easy to get it over on these kids. But like I said, in order to have credibility on other things, you don't want your kid being like, "What else are you lying to me about?" when they're 9, when they have that attitude. But once those kids at 4.5, 5 years old, I mean, they really start copping an attitude. They start learning English. They're very fast learners. And you just want to shut that down and say, listen, Mommy and Daddy are more trustworthy than all the other parents. We told you about Santa, you know. And also, when I don't know if I want my kids hacking up thank yous to some fat mystical man who, you know, has been paying his elves less than minimum wage, slave labor all year long, you know, to make them Game Boy Advance SPs, which were made in like 2002, you know, so my kids can play Tetris and be Tetris champions. Like, I just don't know if I want them hacking up the thank yous that direction when they could just give it to me or God, because God is the one who actually makes the presents, the Christ Mass spirit and the Christ Mass presence, not the big fat Santa. So
he is not consenting to this. I went to go run a couple errands, and now I'm just watching Arrested Development. I also went to Domino's Pizza.
Ooh.
And I got a pizza.
Domino's. So we actually got really lucky with the Domino's thing because about 8 or 9 years ago they had kind of an underwhelming recipe. It wasn't that great. I mean, I liked it probably more than most people. It was still fine. It was definitely worth $5 for a medium. It really was. But then they came out with a new recipe kind of out of nowhere, and they didn't change their name. So what they should have done is they should have trashed the name Domino's and came out with a, you know, mozzarella, the store name. And then everyone's be like, mozzarella, what's that? And then they try it and be like, whoa, it's amazing. And then they could charge like $25 a box. But no, they kept the name Domino's. You know, they kept their same stockholders. They kept their same brand, and their tarnished reputation of like our pizza tastes like cardboard was still there. So no one was willing to pay a bunch of money, even though when they changed the recipe, it was incredible. It's like, oh my gosh, it might be the best pizza. And it's only $5.99. It doesn't make any sense. They need to start charging more for the pizza. We get it. You guys changed, you know. But some people haven't had it in 9 years and they still think it's bad. And then they look at the price and like, oh, it's still $5.99. It's probably still a $5.99 pizza. You get what you pay for. In this case, no. No, it's not a generic pizza anymore. It's unique. It is tasty. It's yummy, right? The crust is incredible. The sauce. the cheese, it's all tier 1. It's incredible. And if there was a video I saw on a professional chef who doesn't eat any fast food, no cheap pizza, all he eats is like the really the pepperoni, you know. It's like and he has the Italian the authenticato, the pepperoni, you know, and that's all he eats. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, try you know, Pizza Hut, you know, try Little Caesars, try Domino's, try Mountain Mike's, you know, etc. And then it just went all the way down the line. And he gave Domino's an 8 out of 10, and everything else was a 7 or lower. So I mean, and look, Mountain Mike's is like $20, Domino's is like $5.99. I mean, there was a deal the other day. It was like a large for $5.99. Oh my gosh, it's just ridiculous. And my friend's like, okay, we get it, raise the prices, you know. Otherwise, we're just gonna eat it every day. So, Brittany and I, we eat the pizza every day because the thing is, not only is it good for you because there's cheese. It's good for your taste buds, which is the most important thing. You know, will certain diets, this video is called Diet Changes in Christmas, will certain diets reduce your life by 9 months? The answer is yes, I think. We're predestined to live as long as whatever. God can kill me mid-sentence, mid-breath. That'd be awesome if I was preaching the word and then I said, you know, God can kill me mid-sentence, and then I die mid-sentence. That's happened before, by the way. It's happened, I think, twice. The guy was preaching, and he's always wanted to die mid-sentence, and he got cut off and killed mid-sentence. That'd be awesome if it happened to me, just for the record. Anyway, so if bad diet increases how happy you are for the day, Brittany was mentioning Tic Tacs. They make you a little bit happy for a little bit of time. Okay, now if that's true, now let's just say your diet cuts. It does indeed cut. You know, the Armenians are right. Okay, and the predestination thing is okay, and the diet actually does kill you. Like those Baskin-Robbins guys, they ate ice cream every single day. They had free ice cream, and if they got sick for eating too much ice cream, they'd treat themselves by eating more ice cream. Okay, they died at the young age of 50. Skinny guys, dead from ice cream. Okay, so they lost debatably 15 years of their life. But let's just say that Brittany's diet, my diet, let's just say it does kill us like a year early. Okay, here's the thing: instead of us living 75 years old, we live 74. Okay. So the entire bull market of our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, we get an extra 5-10% per day, happiness, enjoyment from the taste buds and everything else, from this pizza, and not to mention the money that we save, because it is underpriced right now. Okay, we're gonna lose 1 year of our life, but it's the lowest quality year of our life, 74 to 75. You know, laying on a deathbed, is that what we want? We want an extra year of that? Like, let's say we ate more healthy and we just sacrificed our lives and we just ate salad. Okay, yeah, we'd live to 79 years old. But we'd be gaining an extra 5 years of laying on a bed. You know, just really old. You know, all of our millennial friends are dying. I mean, do we really want this? No, we don't want this. In fact, it's a blessing to die young. It's a blessing to die early. Why? Because of the afterlife. The afterlife, there's heavens and there's heavens of heavens within heavens. There's cities in heaven. There's cities within cities within cities within, like huge, like Narnias of Narnias of Narnias within heavens. It's incredible up there, and you're going to tell me that I'm not going to eat Domino's so I can stay out of heaven for a year? Forget it!
on. But do you see the crumbs? Domino's pizza is pretty good.
Pretty.
I love it.
Understatement. And you're pretty.
Love it.
Oh my
Sorry
god.
if this is like TMI for some people. Gosh, I get such bad breakouts when it's my time of the month.
Oh my gosh. When I walk on by, my face looks like it's gonna die. Skip to the beat. I get some breakouts from the heat. What? This is how I roll. Something. My face is breaking. It's out of control. Red Mountain Tops, you already know. I'm like Bob Marley. I got the grow. What? Girl, look at that acne. Girl, look at that acne. Girl, look at that acne. I break out. I made up that song when I was back when I worked at the bowling alley. Instead of Sexy and I Know It, it's called Acne and I Know It. And sexy or acne kind of rhymes with sexy. It's a great song. It's a great version of the song. Anyway, I made it up. So
I come from a family of talented musicians. Can you tell?
definitely relate to that.
And now that time's over, but my forehead is just very upset this week, and I don't know what I did. Maybe it's the pizza.
Oh, I was just about to say that, but no, it's
the
not.
red velvet cake I had for breakfast.
Nope, none of those things.
I wish that was a joke.
Nope.
Look at me, sitting
Nope.
so professionally. I don't know why I feel like so.
Unlike 76% of millennials, Brittany has never failed an interview. Probably because the guy interviewing her got lost in her eyes during the whole process. And she has a college degree, so I mean, it's hard to argue with that.
As a professional, I feel like I should be talking about something important. Vaginal health. Pay attention to it.
Is this important? Vaginal health. So the thing about the thing about vaginal health is abstinence is the best way to stay away from the STDs. This is what I heard. So basically, there's these sexually transmitted little diseases. There's these they're kind of like bed bugs, and the bed bugs they can bite. And basically, 70 million people have these, either the herpes or I don't know. I guess I heard somewhere that herpes actually aren't that bad, but they're kind of like these natural red bumps. But basically, God is very patient with us, and He gives us little zaps, and He gives us little pokes. And the sexually transmitted disease is actually a result of sin and God being not super thrilled with what you're doing. And there's a text to pissing God off, and there's a bunch of verses that says do not commit sexual immorality. So the best way to avoid, or the best way to have vaginal health, is to not get the STDs, and the best way to do that is by the abstinence. Abstinence. I don't know if I like the thing with the abstinence. The thing with the abstinence, it's not so much about, and this is where a lot of people disagree with me, but it's not so much about avoiding sexual immorality as much as it is pursuing sexual purity through Christ Jesus our Lord. Basically, when you fall in love with Christ and you love Him so much, you're naturally going to, not have sex with all the sisters, and the sisters. So a lot of people think we came from Adam and Eve, and that's partially true, but we came from Noah and his wife, because God got really pissed off and He killed everyone on earth, and He flooded the earth, and then He felt bad about it, even though He's perfect and He never makes any mistakes. He's like, ugh. So then it's kind of like a judge who throws some guy in jail for 700 years, even though he's probably only going to live to 118 max. You kind of just go, ugh, like that. And that's kind of how it was. God did what He had to do, but He says, you know what? He says, I know a guy, and I'm going to give him a boat. And I'm going to have him tell everyone to get on the boat. Well, guess what? Nobody got on the boat. And, it's funny because, if you read the story, he's like, get on the boat! Get on the boat! And to the guys that are just, that are just like, it's probably not going to rain because, like, yeah, because you've been saying this literally for 700 or 800 years. It took 1,000 years for God to actually let it rain. You know, so here's Noah awkwardly saying soon, soon. It's kind of like Christ, how he says, I'll be back," and everyone's like, "When?" This it has been happening around the world, by the way. And he says, "Soon," and they're like, "Okay, well, when's that?" And everyone's like, "Soon." That's what Noah was told to tell people. He says it's going to rain really hard, which is why I'm making this giant boat in the desert. And you think there's crazy people around today? I mean, there are, but you think there's crazy people? You should have seen the crazy people back then, and there were so many crazy people. So when you're in the streets of Vegas and some guy's building a boat in the middle of the desert, it's just par for the course. He's just one of those crazy people, And yeah, if you hang around him for a few years and you listen to everything he has to say, and he's not a really bad guy, he's not committing adultery, he's not stealing, he's not coveting his neighbor's goods, he's not lying, he's not murdering, he's not blasphemy. It's like, this guy is less crazy than everyone else, but at the same time, he's kind of a kook because he's building this giant boat, and he's like, I don't know, praying, and who knows what this guy's on. But he has this giant boat. It's a very impressive boat, by the way. It's wood. It's made of wood. And then, but to think that I'm gonna go on there with him with a bunch of animals, him and his wife, and just like there's barely even a bed in the back, and it's just like it's crazy to think. And it was kind of like he's kind of like started a cult, except he was the cult leader, but there's no cult followers because everyone was so wicked and evil, and obviously the people who thought he was crazy, I apparently have sympathy for right now. Because it's like, dude, you're building a boat in the middle of the desert. It's been 200 years you've been at this. And the last 50 years, I've been asking you, when is the rain gonna... It hasn't rained. It's like Holes. It's like the movie Holes. It hasn't rained for 76 years, for 136 years, for 500 years.
Can you hear the empty spaces?
If I was a part of this cult, I'm leaving because it hasn't rained. There's no results, and when I ask you specific dates, he says soon, 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 and it's like, listen, okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Can I take a rain check? So, where was I?
We're getting married.
Okay. I just went back and checked. And the answer is, I don't really know. But it's basically like, hey, God is very patient. And my point was, people used to live thousands of years back then. In fact, humans were created to live forever. That's why when you get cut and you're bleeding, that... Oh my gosh. Brittany looks really pretty. Sorry. So when you get cut and then you're bleeding, your body heals itself. See? That's right. So, anyway, people used to live a really long time. It wasn't because of their diet. It was because that's how it was. And God would make it so everyone lived long time. But 1,000 years... So God's pissed now. He wants to flood the world. So, he tells Noah, who is the least wicked person, he was perfect in God's eyes, not literally perfect, but like...
Perfect for me.
He's perfect because he's like the least bad. He likes his family. And he says, Noah, I'm going to spare you. And we're going to start over with your family, and all the babies are going to come from you and your wife. Now, here's the thing. He's also going to let everyone who believes Noah, he says, I'm going to tell you to build a boat, and I'm going to perform no signs or wonders. I'm just going to have you be a kook in the middle of the desert. Okay? You see why I have sympathy for some of these other wicked guys that are about to get flooded right now? Because I don't. But, so God has this giant boat, And so he tells Noah, I'm gonna let it rain. And I don't even think he told Noah, because otherwise Noah kind of might actually tell somebody, especially everyone that's getting pissed. But the point is, after so 1 Corinthians 13 says love is patient, love is kind, and then later it says God is love. So God is patience. That's what God is. And when God wants to flood the world in 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, and he says to himself, you know what, I'm going to wait for these people to repent. Meanwhile, these guys are going crazy, and they're killing each other, and there's drunkards and all sorts of nonsense. God's just like, I'm just going to wait it out. And then, anyway, his anger built up, and then he got pissed off, and then he let it rain, and then it kept raining and pouring, and he put all the animals on the boat, and then everyone was dead. So it was kind of a happy ending, because that's how I'm here. Noah was able to have babies with his wife, and then there was a bunch of babies, and that's why everyone is brother and sister, because we all came from Noah and his wife. So there's two messages here. One, we're all brother and sister, and two, the two is God is very patient. So it's a great message there.
Pay attention to it. Take probiotics.
Take probiotics, or just stop having sex with your sisters, man. Listen, every girl, this is a message to all you guys out there, every girl is either your sister or your wife. Right? There's no middle ground. There's no girlfriend, biblically speaking. You're either married or she's your sister. So when I hear people having sex outside of marriage, it's just like, ugh, you're having sex with your sister. It's disgusting. You're having sex with Noah's offspring. And then people actually have the nerve to brag about their sexual conquest. They're like, listen, I've had sex with 15 sisters, 25 sisters, 40 sisters. It's just like, okay, you're disgusting. It's like at some point, it's just gross. And you haven't been married once. You just have had sex with your sisters outside of wedlock. You know, against their parents. I mean, you didn't even ask their parents. You're just having sex outside of wedlock with your sister. Like, and then people are like, I never thought about it like that. Well, it's like, okay. I mean, and yes, obviously, you know, there's forgiveness and there's a way out. And when you get an STD, you know, God doesn't kill you unless you get HIV, because then he's really pissed off. I was actually in Vegas, and there was these three guys with a giant sign, and it was just like, you know, it was something along the lines of like, you're all, whatever. He was very religious. He was like, rah, 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 rah. That's the short version. And then when I talked to him, he looked at me in the eyes, and he says, if you have sex with any girl, and he was just saying to me only, this does not apply to anyone else, but he's like, if you have sex with anyone outside of marriage, you get HIV first go. HIV first go. I was like, damn. You know, he's probably right too. So, because here's the thing, there's a huge difference between somebody, not to name, I don't know, let's just call her Presley, because that's her real name. Presley, there's a difference between a Presley and a Brittany, okay? Presley has sex with one of her brothers, right? Just some guy down the street that she barely knows. And, you know, it's bad. It is really bad. There's no way around that. It is terrible. Okay? But God kind of goes like this. Ugh. Okay? Now, if Brittany cheats on her test at school, this is unacceptable.
I looked over at her answer and I like marked B or C or whatever, but then I felt so horrible and so guilty. I'm like, this is such bad karma, this is bad. So I erased it and put like an answer that I knew like it wasn't.
I mean, this is really Brittany, right? And that's what I mean. There's different standards between Brittany and Presley, because Presley is agnostic. She's like atheist. She doesn't have a relationship with God. She's never prayed. Okay, she's wicked. She's 5'6", blonde. She's had sex with 8 people already, and she just has different standards. So there's the Bible says that there's a conscience, there's a family, and then there's a government. And the conscience is a great regulator, but if you sear your conscience, that's why you have a strong family unit, and then the family will discipline you. And then if you get out of line, then that's when the government comes in and throws you in jail. God doesn't make everybody the same, There's the prodigal son and the Pharisee. There's what I'm trying to say is the lone wolf in the family is going to get different treatment. I'll actually go on a second sub-tangent. There was my grandma. She was 71. She passed away a few years ago. She used to be the goody two-shoes in her class. She was the teacher's pet. Always got good grades, always obedient, never made any mistakes. Then there was another kid named Joey who was the class clown, and he was very disobedient, got bad grades. And anyway, the teacher one time, she left the class for about 3 minutes. She comes back in, and Joey is in the front of class. This is about like 40 years ago, by the way. 60 years ago. This is like 55 years ago. So Joey goes in the front of class, and he starts making jokes. And guess what? He was funny. He was super funny. Whatever he was writing on the chalkboard or whatever, making jokes, he's hilarious. Everyone was laughing, including my grandma Kathy. The teacher comes back in, sees the ruckus. She comes to tears in her eyes, and she says, "Kathy Harris!" So mad. Why? Because her laughing at Joey was more offensive to her than Joey creating an entire classroom with a ruckus. Because she has different standards for Kathy than she does for Joey, very clearly. And this is why the conscience is so ineffective for Presley, and why it's so thin and sensitive for Brittany, because they are different people. They have literally different expectations from God. Just because Brittany has had, well, for one, a better family than Presley. I mean, no offense to Presley, but like Presley, this fictional character Presley, or even let's just say Joey. Even Joey's family. He Joey was raised a certain way. Proverbs 22:6, great verse. Train up a child the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. So parenting is a huge part of a child's life, and that will determine how they end up 100% of the time. 100%. So basically, that little preacher was right. He says if Eric has sex outside of marriage, he's going to get a bigger punishment than Joey. If Brittany has sex outside marriage, she's going to get a bigger punishment from God than Presley. And that's kind of the point of the story there. My grandma, when she said the story, she was like, "That's so unfair. This is so messed up." All I did was laugh. The teacher was expecting her to be like, oh my gosh, this is so inappropriate, and have these like negative nonverbals of this class clown. But she seemed to have a very supportive nonverbals, which was so offensive. But my grandma kind of missed the point. The point is, you're a teacher's pet, not a class clown. So you have different standards. And I'm going to say this to my kids as well. You know, my firstborn Elijah, or whatever his name ends up being, it's going to be something savage like that, though. If he gets a B, he gets grounded for a month. If my thirdborn, let's call him Matthew or Luke or something like that, John, no, not John, but Matthew or Luke, if he gets a C, we throw a party. So they just have different standards, you know. It's not that Elijah's better than Luke. It's that Elijah is way better than Luke, and that's kind of what I'm saying here, you know. And he has different expectations. He has different responsibility. He has more power, so he gets more responsibility. And he has, yeah. So continue.
Vaginal health. Pay attention to it. Take probiotics.
Take probiotics.
It prevents yeast infections. I don't know. I don't go out of my way to try to say sexy things. It just kind of happens.
It's true.
This shirt's so Christmassy, except for I'm exposed like a harlot. This is how you feel after 3 glasses of champagne. Am I right? I know.
I've never drank it before, so I don't actually know. Yeah, when the Dare to Resist drugs program is kind of an utter failure. Basically, in case you guys don't know, for those of you who are watching like 25 years from now, my kids or whatever, whoever's really watching this, I'll tell you, there was this government program that was a complete failure. It was called DARE, Dare to Resist Drugs and Alcohol, and it's basically they go around to these little kids like 5th graders who are never ever going to do drugs, and they go to class and they tell you, you guys should not do drugs, you know, like don't do drugs, like don't do drugs. And then everyone's just like, huh? And then they said all the pros and cons of each one of the drugs, telling you about ecstasy, meth, and cocaine, and crack, where to get it. You know, it's like how much it costs. You know, the addiction. You know, you're young and invincible, and they're like telling us all this stuff, and it's just like, wow. It's like now that you mention it, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And then there's alcohol too, and they're like, yeah, alcoholism, yeah. And a lot of the stats, just the raw data, doesn't really hit you super hard. It did to me, and I think the Dare to Resist drugs thing, obviously it doesn't work for like 99.9% of kids, and it did dramatically increase drug usage in America, the whole program. But for me personally, I don't think it did that much harm to me. I am a big numbers guy, and I did actually listen to some of the stuff. One of the things I remember is, like, if you do a lot of alcohol, like when you're 14, 15, you can develop alcoholism in 6 months. But if you start becoming a heavy drinker when you're like 25, then it'll take about 15 years to develop stage 2 alcoholism. So you're basically immune after 21 when you start drinking, which is kind of interesting. Then there was some other like stats. Apparently, I don't remember that much more. But I remember when I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take a gamble and just decide that I'm never gonna drink, you know, or do drugs. So I kind of did, and I'm 27, and I've never had a drink. Alcohol, never had a shot, nothing like this. I've never been drunk, nothing like that. So yeah, I stuck to it. So yeah, I don't really know what that is about, but yeah, the Dare to Resist Drugs program was a colossal failure, and a lot of people did get hooked on drugs because of that program. And I know what you're thinking. They didn't tell kids to do drugs. They told them not to do drugs. Well, if you do any study, like, I'll tell you how ridiculous it is by this example. Let's say you have a hot stove, right? And it's super hot, right? and your 4-year-old walks by. Okay? If you don't say anything, he's going to say, "Mommy, I want milk." Okay? And I'll tell him, "I'm not your mommy, I'm your daddy." And then he'll say, "Oh, Daddy, I want milk." And then I'll say, "Ask your mom." Okay? Now what happens when the kid walks by and he says, "Mommy, I want milk," and you respond with, "Don't touch the stove"? You see how ridiculous that is? Guess what he's going to think? Touch the stove? No, don't touch the stove. It's like, okay, well, why would I even bring that up? You know what I mean? Because now he's going to ask, well, why wouldn't I touch the stove? And he's going to start questioning it, you know? And the Dare to Resist Drugs conspiracy is that, yeah, they wanted a bunch of people to do drugs. That's why they came out with the Dare to Resist Drugs. You know, dare to resist touching the stove. You know how many more people would touch the burning stove if that was a campaign? So the kid, what he ends up doing is he ends up touching it, then he finds out the hard way, even though he was warned. But all he had to do was deflect and say, teach him strong values. You know, teach him how to think. That's how you get kids off drugs, or not to do drugs. You teach them and make them strong character. Give them strong character traits. So yeah, I've never done drugs, but I am thinking like maybe I'll drink when I'm 50. Just kidding.
Some of you guys are near snow right now. I've talked to you guys. Mike, I know you're near the snow. You're not near it, you're in it. I'm in the mood to be near snow. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you guys what your favorite Christmas movie was.
It's Elf. She's gonna. I saw this. I think I saw this video the other day. She's not gonna mention it. I'm pretty sure.
Number one Christmas movie.
It's so obvious.
All time.
She's like, it's so
I'm
obvious.
always gonna feel this way. Nothing's gonna change me. I'm very stubborn.
Watch this.
JK, talk to me about anything. I may sway. The second one is.
See, so she tells you, and then she edits it out because I don't know. She doesn't want to cause controversy. Or maybe she was like, "Oops, I thought of a better one," when she was editing, and then she cuts it out. I don't know. It's just kind of funny, no matter what. But leave it a mystery. Elf is a great movie, though.
It's great, but I just think the first one's the best. Also, I really like Jingle All the Way. But those are
Never seen it.
like the two that I really love. Oh my god!
I don't think.
The Family Stone. Holy gaboli.
Also, never seen it.
The Family Stone is great. I feel like that one's not as popular. You guys heard of The Family Stone? That's another one that I have to watch every year.
A Family Stone.
Dan Keaton, hello. I'm trying to eat less sugar.
Oh my God! Stop, Brittany. Sugar's great. I mean, what's going on?
Now you're drinking Dr. Pepper right now.
That's exactly right. That stuff is good. It's got sugar in it, and two doctors have told me that if I drink it, I will die, but they died first.
Okay, so that's proof that it's good for you.
Yeah.
So you think you think that this drink has helped you live to this age of 104?
Well, evidently, because everybody tells me it has too much sugar in it, but since I've been drinking 3 a day for 50 or 60 years, evidently my body needs sugar. I don't take any medication. They can't still find anything wrong with me.
It's there for a reason, Brittany. I mean, you could buy sugar straight. Like, it's just... Oh my God. I think soda companies are wrong when they start reducing their sugar. Listen. Sugar, it's great. Oh man, it's great.
That stuff is good. It's got sugar in it.
I don't know why you want less of a good thing, you know?
Eat less sugar. I totally, honestly just had half of a red velvet cupcake this morning.
There we go.
But you know what?
Keep it up.
This is progress for me. I was going to get.
Yep. maybe tomorrow we can have a full cupcake. You got this.
A small Coke with lunch today, but I didn't.
With free refills. That's what I do too. I go to the store and then I get the small Coke and then I just refill it like 7 or 8 times. And then I fill it up and leave with it full, and then I drink it. So it's the best value.
Growing up, because one of those Cokes, it's like 40 grams of sugar. I was also doing some research recently, and women are like supposed to have no more than 35 grams of added sugar a day. I don't even really want to think about how much more I've been consuming. How much sugar is in my coffee creamer? I don't want to know. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching my video.
Can we do one more? How long was this? Oh, it's probably long enough. Almost 15 minutes. Yeah, definitely leaving this. Really enjoyed that video, so until next time, bye-bye.